I know, right? Just seem awesome. Half the time it'll start and I'm over here like dancing to whatever music is in my head. Show up on the live and I'm going like this and nobody knows why.
What is she doing?
I know, it's confusing. I feel bad for people sometimes. We just show up and be like, what did I just sign up for? All right. I will get you this link.
Okay.
Show starts the same way every time. I feel bad for people. They gotta be sick of it by now.
Oh, I got you. It's all good. Let's see here.
Here we go.
Just go ahead and post this real quick.
Dang it! It's still it's showing up with Wayne's.
I got
Wayne's
you.
picture. Just click that out. I will replace it as soon as I got to figure out why YouTube is doing that. It must be a setting that I've got going on somewhere, but.
Oh, okay. It's all good. It's all good.
We'll let everybody know we're here. And then I can make the introductions.
Okay.
I'll have to figure out a better way to do this at some point. Maybe pay for the streaming stuff that I'm hesitant to pay for. I don't want to do it. Oh, all right. I know, Olga. It's terrible. Hi, Kate. All right. Since we're here, welcome everybody to the social hour. As you all know, and I'm sure you're getting sick of hearing, my name is Nicole York. I am a photographer, a senior writer for F-Stoppers, an author and a digital artist. And I am hosting today an amazing photographer whose work I have admired for quite a long time. He is based out of North Carolina and he has really extraordinary portrait and key artwork. His name is Bryce Chapman. And Bryce, I am so excited to finally get to hang out with you in person.
Likewise, Nicole. Hello, everybody.
Yay. So today, Bryce is here. And the first thing before we started, let me just reset and get my words going straight. Before we started going live, I had to make sure with Bryce that I knew what he did as a photographer because he hides all that stuff on his website. So everybody needs to jump on his back and be like, dude, tell us more about yourself.
Yeah.
So we know what you do.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person, right?
Just a terrible human being. So Hannah is here as well. Becca's here. Chris is here. Olga is here. Guys, I'm so glad you have joined us. If you have any questions for Bryce, please make sure that you stick them in there. That way we can get to them and we can just ask Bryce all the questions. So
yes, apply the pressure.
Yes. Yeah. So before we get started, how are you handling the isolation? I know you guys are probably starting to open up a little bit faster over there. Is that affecting you being able to work, or are you still holding back?
Yeah, it has affected my ability to work. Granted, like I've started, just gradually open like my own workload, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's been kind of tough. And like I was telling you earlier, I lost out on something pretty big because of it. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I'm starting to get more requests to like do more work. But so far, I've booked some stuff already, but that's for further down in the future. But
sure.
Yeah, so far it's very, very slow. I'll put it like that. So
yeah. And how are you? Do you have any plans for how you're moving forward with starting to work again, as far as like trying to keep yourself safe, or
Oh yeah. Oh my
like
God.
Precautions and stuff. Yeah,
for sure. Like I am way more precautious when it comes to like doing my work, especially with what's going on.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I'm going to try to keep things the same, but things have to take a major shift due to all those precautions I got to put in place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I'm definitely moving slower forward than the state is. As we open up, I'm starting to get hit up by people who are like, hey, things are starting to open up. Can we work? And I'm like,
yeah, that's exactly what's going on in my email right now.
Yeah.
It's insane,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful for it. But also, I'm like, give me a little time.
Yeah, yeah. Even for me, I know emotionally it's a little bit harder because even just going to the grocery store is like an internal struggle for me. It's hard even just to go put myself around people now because the last few months have conditioned me so much to be like, y'all are dangerous. So
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because, like, as somebody who loves photographing people, I'm always like, I love photographing people, but like you just said, I think some of y'all might be a little bit dangerous. Yeah.
I know you're gonna give me some. It's not safe.
Right. But
which is so hard for a people person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that and like when everything was going in lockdown, that hurt me the most because like, oh my God, I really want to interact.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's starting to open up slowly. So
yeah.
hopefully, and I know we're gonna see cases rise. And I don't know what that's gonna mean for whether or not they decide to pull back some of those freedoms or lock us down a little bit more. Again, I don't know what that's gonna mean, but hopefully maybe we can find some ways, especially the more that they learn, the more it seems like maybe if you're, shooting with a long lens outdoors, then the risks are probably like really low.
Yeah. And like as somebody who doesn't really like zoom lenses, those things are starting to look good right about now.
Yeah, I bet. Like, give me that 70 to 200, please. Yeah, I'm so glad right now that I didn't sell mine because I was like this close to getting rid of it, and now I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Maybe I can get outside at least.
Yeah,
so,
I got one coming in. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Good. Yep. Hopefully that means you can get to work safely soon. Right on. Sure. So the big thing that I want to know first to start off with, Bryce, is what got you into photography in the first place?
Okay. All right. As I told you earlier, this is going to be, I'm going to try to shorten this story as much as possible. Right. Okay. So when I was like little, right, I was always drawing stuff. That's what I started with. I mean, I started with crayons when I was like pre-K, but before I even got into pre-K, I was literally trying to draw everything with crayons, pencils, whatever you gave me, I try to draw, right? And as time progressed, I got really into like cartoons and people.
Yeah.
And that's what I was always drawing people. And then like what I would do, I would draw pictures that I would find in magazines.
Okay.
I was extremely fascinated with photos in magazines. And when I was in high school, God, I'm about to tell my age. Do you remember those floppy disks?
Oh yeah.
So like my art teacher when I was in high school, like the computer that she had, it only took floppy disks. And what I would do is I would take the floppy disk, put images on it, and then I would go to my grandfather's house and I would get him to print out some pictures and stuff that I saved on the floppy disk. And I would draw pictures that I really liked, the ones that I saw online. Mm-hmm. And as I say, like as time progressed, I was just drawing and drawing. Everything started coming from photographs. And so my art teacher, she took me aside and she was like, you know what, why don't you just try photography out? And I was like, well, I don't have a camera. She was like, that's okay, I'll show you how to make one. And she showed me how to make a pinhole camera out of a shoebox.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where like my introduction to like film and everything works. And so from there, that's pretty much how photography started. But the thing is, before that even happened, see, I'm all over the place now. See, this is how I tell my stories.
Just do your thing.
So like what would happen was, when she would give art projects, like she gave me a freedom of doing what I wanted. She didn't give everybody else that freedom, but she gave me the freedom to do what I wanted. And I would continue to draw from photos, and also I would do photography as well.
Right.
And as time progressed, I graduated from high school. I went to school for graphic design, and within that graphic design curriculum, we had to take electives. And I had already had an interest in photography, and so I took the digital photography class.
Right.
And, from there, I got to know, some incredible photographers. But as as time went on, like the photography teacher kind of took me under her wing and just started showing me a whole bunch of different things that I never knew was possible, right?
Yeah.
And from there, I started meeting people who were, doing photography as well. I mean, it was like a snowball effect almost, right?
Sure.
And so from there, I got to know more people who were actually in the actual industry, and a few of them kind of took me under the wing to show me like different things. Um, and I started realizing how like my love for like drawing people kind of correlated to photography, and that's how I
Yeah.
got more into portrait and shooting portraits. And also before, God knows, I'm all over the place. Even before that, um, basically, I was introduced to a photographer who photographed women,
Hmm.
and like this particular photographer was so good at it, and it just blew my mind how good this photographer was at photographing women, and just the way he used light, um, and it just blew my mind. And from there, I started like to have an interest of like the nude form and whatnot, and it was just
Uh-huh.
God knows it was insane basically. And from there, I was doing portraits, I was shooting like nude work. It's nothing like I'm shooting now, because like I had this notion where I had to shoot like glamorous stuff all the time, and that would that just wasn't for me. And then like again, he took me under his wing for a bit and showed me like, hey, look, you could try this out too. And I started to get better and better at shooting like my portraits and my nude work. So um to try to keep it short, it's just like he showed me a bunch of different things that I had no idea was possible in terms of photography, right? And from there, I started to try to develop like what it is that I that was like that piqued my interest for the most
Sure.
part. And um, you know, as time progressed, I started being all over the place. I was photographing new work, portraits. I was like all over the place. But as as time went on, I started to realize what it is that I truly love to photograph, and here I am today.
So
Hopefully that makes sense.
no, absolutely. It seems like for a lot of us, and you are actually the third photographer that I've talked to so far who has a graphic design history, which is
Mm,
really interesting. And I can see how those two worlds kind of overlap a little bit, and that
hmm
in a lot of your more conceptual retouches, I think you can see some of that knowledge kind of come into
hmm
play, and how you're like putting things together and structuring them and using like color and graphic elements and negative space and all of that stuff. So it definitely feels, I mean, you can tell that that's part of your past,
mm.
which is really cool. And so Pauline Goyard, she as well was one that had that history. And then I just spoke to Wayne yesterday, and he also mentioned having a graphic design history. So
Yeah, I watched both of those.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
really interesting. That's kind of cool that that's a thing. So when you were drawing as a kid, you were drawing people then mostly.
Yeah, I was drawing literally anything I could get my hands on or anything I could see. And a funny story. Okay, so when I was little, I really liked watching football on TV, right?
Yeah.
And what I would do, I would try my best to draw the football players as they were playing on the field or whatnot. And of course, uh, being that young and trying to remember all that stuff I saw. It was pretty hard, but at the same time, I think my photographic memory is pretty decent for being so young.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, and then from there, like it grew into like drawing cartoons, and it really transformed into drawing people. Um, I forgot to mention, like when I was in college, I had this this drawing teacher. Oh my God, he's probably one of my favorite artists. His name is Richard Wilson, he was born and raised right here in North Carolina, and God, that dude just blew my mind when he was teaching me. Like I can't draw or paint like him, but like he really opened my eyes up to like lighting and all these all these fascinating elements when it came to like the art world. And
Yeah.
like just God, like it's insane. It's insane how much like he opened my eyes up. And
Do you
um
find as an artist, I have a theory and I'm wondering if you find this as well. Do you find
okay.
that having studied traditional art forms like drawing, etc., makes you a better photographer?
Um I would say it has some effect on like my photographic abilities. You know, I'm not gonna say it doesn't, because I'd be lying if I say that. But I think like having that background definitely, I tell you what it helps me with for sure. It really helps me when I'm coming up with an idea.
Ah,
You know, like one of my series I worked on, like the idea came to me, but like I couldn't figure out how I wanted to do it until I picked up the pencil and started sketching it out. So I personally believe that it definitely does have an effect on like um on my photographic abilities for sure.
yeah. I find the same thing. It's definitely easier to conceptualize something if you can sketch it a little bit and play
Mm,
with a few compositions and try to figure out how the elements could work together and
yeah,
all
for
of that
sure.
stuff. So you mentioned these photographers who took you under their wing and were
Mhm.
showing you stuff that blew your mind as far as like lighting and stuff. Do you mind sharing what kind of things they were showing you?
Okay, so like some of the stuff they were showing me was from photographers that they thought that I might have liked because I was so into like the people's faces,
Mm-hmm.
and I was also into like just the body in general. And you know, a lot of the stuff they were showing me was mostly like it was somewhat conceptual stuff, but at the same time, it was a lot of you know, classic portraits. And also a lot of like commercial photographers who shoot a lot of commercial portrait work. You know, some of it was from like let me think of one of the photographers. Like I don't know if you know Frank Okenfels. He's well nowadays he's one of my favorites. But like one of the photographers showed me like the possibilities of like the possibility of portraits, and then they showed me uh, gosh, what's the other photographer? A lot of people are going to hate me for forgetting this photographer's name. Oh my God, Jesus. You know what? I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to get bombarded with hate. But anyways, like when they would show me that stuff, it just like I said earlier, it just like I'm just like, how is this even possible? How is this stuff even possible to be created? And you know, like I said, it just piqued it piqued my interest, and from there, I just got addicted to it pretty much. You know.
So they were
Yeah.
kind of exposing you to work that you just hadn't seen,
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you find that that work still influences how you choose to create things, or was it just kind of like a part of the journey?
I would say, yeah, it like a lot of that work does have somewhat it has some influence still on me to this day because like I say, I was so struck by it. Um but I think like nowadays, since I have like somewhat of my own vision, I don't like look back on that stuff as much as I used to, I would say. Does that make
Mm.
sense? You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once you've, it seems like what we do in a way is we kind of replicate and take from other places. And then once we've taken those things and
Hmm.
used them enough times, we kind of warp them to be what we want them to be for our own vision instead of,
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm very, very stubborn at times. So yeah, like I want to have my own thing, you know? Like
Yes.
that's just how I am. Yeah,
I think as an artist, you should be.
I agree. I agree.
So, is there something that motivates you with your style? Because I noticed that even in your portrait work and your nude work, there
Hmm.
still is a very conceptual feel to it. It is not. it doesn't feel like documentary work, I guess is the point. So is there something stylistically that motivates you or that inspires you?
If I'm being honest, and I think I touched on this before we started, one thing that really uh, motivates some of my pieces is concept art, right? And also, um, it's gonna sound so childish, but I don't care. Um, video games, right?
It doesn't sound childish. I think for those of us who grew up like on the cusp of when video games were starting to become cool, we're like,
Mhm.
oh no, that's still for kids. I don't even want to tell people how much I love video games, but whatever. Like
Yeah, dude.
video
Like
games are awesome.
I will tell people in a heartbeat. Like, look, I love video games, and they have a nice impact on what it is I create. Like, especially nowadays, since like the way graphics and everything work nowadays, like the way
Yeah.
these artists create these pieces of uh 3D, and it just blows, like, again, it blows my mind, and I love seeing that stuff. And then sometimes that will like have an effect on what it is I want to create, you know? And that's just how it goes. Like, especially with me, you know.
Do you have any concept artists you follow?
Now, that is a really, really good question, because as far as the concept artists, like I have a concept art book, but like a lot of the times I don't really know who those particular artists are,
Gotcha.
which sucks. And like they'll have it in the credits when the game is over or whatnot, but like it's not there's so many different pieces that I love looking at. I don't have a clue who did it. Now, I know that sounds terrible and I should know, but that's just the way it is sometimes. Like I don't really see who all the concept artists are when it comes to um these games and whatnot. I just know that
Sure.
it just fascinates me, and I just love looking at it. You know.
Is so in that vein, is 3D something you've gotten into at all or are considering using to kind of assist in?
Yes, yes. It's like for 3D, 3D is just a different monster, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like I got Cinema 4D, and I've been playing around with it, and that thing is like it's just like Photoshop on thousands of steroids, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it is extremely difficult, but it's fun. But speaking of 3D, I'm actually collaborating with the 3D artist for like a series
Ooh.
that I'm working on. And you know, God, I don't want to spoil anything, but he has like shown me a few things, and again, like it just goes to show me how far, like, the art world has come.
Mm,
Every time I see something that he creates, uh, or I just see other artworks from other 3D artists, and I'm trying to like, how in the world do they do that? You know? So I'm trying to teach myself, how to like work within that particular genre, because I do
right.
see like there might be like a huge shift of like my work being like highly 3D work being integrated into it. It's
Sure.
not it's not set in stone yet, so I'm not going to say that's going to happen. But with the way things are going, it might. I don't know. I don't know yet.
Yeah. No, I feel you there. I think the more we can take control over every aspect, as far as like, if we can't get to a location or if we can't get the kind of like
Mhm.
stock that we want to use or whatever, being able to step into a program and create that stuff for yourself is a complete game changer in being
Yeah.
able to like realize a vision. So I'm practicing my digital painting,
Oh, which
just
you are phenomenal with.
which is
Okay.
coming along
Mhm.
very slowly.
Now
I
I've
just
seen your digital paintings.
well,
You're awesome.
it's thanks. It's easy. It's easier with a reference, but when you're trying to do it from imagination and then doing things like getting the light right and the planes of the face and all that kind of stuff is definitely
Mm.
way harder than being able to work directly from a reference. But anyway, that's not the point. But yeah, being able to take those kind of disparate, um, disciplines and being able to bring them together to form a final vision seems like definitely a way forward for us,
Hmm.
especially given the current situation where it's not always feasible to kind of put together a crew and get, you know, the people that you want in the location that you want or in studio or whatever.
Exactly.
So get into a couple questions real quick. Becca says that your teacher who taught you how to make the pinhole camera was obviously a boss teacher. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And let's see. Chris would like to know, do you still ever play with a pinhole?
Oh my God. When the last time I worked with a pinhole camera? Oh my God. I think it's been over like 10 years. Oh my God. No, I haven't used one in over 10 years. But I will say, I do love shooting film. I will say that. Yeah. I haven't used a pinhole in a long time, but my Rolleiflex is like my best friend.
What is it about film?
Dang, that's a broad question.
It is, but answer how you choose.
Oh yeah, for sure. So with film, I find that like I'm able to take my time, you know, and also like I have to expect the unexpected, which when I'm shooting film, because I don't know if I got my shot the way I wanted. I mean, I typically think I do, but with the way film works, I don't have a clue if it's like going to come out the way I want it to come out. So another thing, it really forces me to make sure I have everything, you know, just right, even though I have no clue if I'll get it right. It really forces me to make sure like my composition and everything is right, because with the way I shoot, I use the I use a 120 film, right? And I with the square format, and with that, you only get, for what I'm shooting, I only get 12 shots. So if I'm shooting something like a 6x7, I think I only get like, or 6x9, I think you only get like 6 shots, I think. So it kind of forces me to be extremely patient and not waste my money.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a few things I love about film. And then also the overall feel from, especially if I'm shooting Kodak Tri-X 400, like you can try to replicate that feeling through Photoshop, and I think I could do a decent job at it, but like you can't really get that feel, that true feel that like, you know, once you develop your film and whatnot, you can't truly replicate it. You know what I mean? So, and that's something else. Like, there's no replication. You know, I love it.
Do you have any clients who come to you specifically for film?
Yeah, I had before lockdown, I had one who wanted me to shoot just black and white film, right? And that was pretty awesome because like they really love my black and white portraits that I did in film, and they're like, you know what? I don't want nothing digital. I just want you just to shoot film. And I was like, well, this is going to be epic because I love shooting black and white film. So, yeah, I've had quite a few who have asked me to do that. It's not. I don't get a whole bunch of clients to do that, but when they do, it's pretty awesome. You know?
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to ask you, it seems to be a really cohesive overall feel to the kind of light that you use in general. It seems to be most of the time like contrasty but soft, and like there's lots of depth in it. Do you have anything specific that you like? Are you aiming for that? And do you have any specific techniques that you employ in order to get that unique kind of light? I'm going to go ahead and share our screen so that viewers can kind of see your work with us as well.
Okay. All right. Can are you going to show like an example of a piece that you're talking about?
I'm just going to jump really quick, like right onto your homepage.
Okay.
Make sure is that showing up for you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, right on. So every now and then you can see the use of some hard light in your work, but
Mm-hmm.
so much of it is this really kind of contrasty light that's fairly soft with depth. And so much of it has a very, even when it looks like you're using strobe, it has a very kind of natural light feel.
Yeah, like, I try to take every photograph that I create. Like every situation is going to be different. But like, for example, I love using strobes, but also I love using like natural light. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm using natural light, I try my best to not make it seem as if it's like uh God, I don't want to sound pretentious. I try my best not to make it seem as if like it's natural light. If that makes sense. So I try to manipulate it as much as possible, whether it be with some homemade aluminum foil or like
Sure.
some scrims, homemade scrims. Like it just like I said, everything that I create, it's just everything has depending on what it is that um, I try to think about the type of light that I want for every shot that I take. And like
Mm-hmm.
for example, that one, that's all natural light.
Right.
And I do have like um some of my favorite types of natural light. Like for example, when it rains
Yes.
and after it rains, there's still storm clouds, where there's light that like pierces through the storm clouds. And it
Yes.
gives me like a look that I can't get over.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes me being lucky to shoot on those particular days, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it forces me to try to replicate it. You know,
Yeah. Well, you're
um,
lucky in the summertime because there's bound to be a thunderstorm just about every day.
yeah, for
So if you
sure,
head
yeah,
outside in the late afternoon, you're probably going to get it somewhere.
yeah, without a doubt. But yeah, like I just try to manipulate my light as much as possible, especially when I'm shooting natural light. So yeah,
Sure.
hope that
Do you
makes
have
sense.
do you have any philosophies about lighting? Like, is there anything or any rules or preferences that you have where you have certain things you generally avoid or certain things you always try for?
You know, like I don't really have any like I'd be lying if I said I had like a big philosophy about light. Like my main thing is if I know what I want, I'm just gonna go get it. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
like if I know I want hard light, I'm gonna either shoot a certain time of day or I'm gonna have to create it myself. Like my main
Right.
thing is I just know what I want and I'm gonna go get it regardless of how I get it. You know?
Do you
Um
have do you conceptualize that before you shoot with somebody? Do you kind of know generally what you're going for in advance, or is that something you wait to see the person and how, their bone structure relates to light and
It's a little bit of both. It's definitely a little bit of both. Like I'll have an idea of what it is I want in terms of light, and sometimes when I'm working with somebody, maybe I'll just try out. I'll say, okay, so this particular light, I think that'll look pretty good, but you know what?
mm,
I'm gonna try out this. So like I don't want to box myself in to just stick into my overall idea of what I want. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's basically how it works. And another thing that I like to do is I like to find light in certain like depending on where I'm at, I like to find light and see um what type of imagery I'm able to create with that particular light.
mm-hmm,
So and I'm not against using the 12 o'clock light. I'll be honest
sure.
about that. I've seen like I see when people they'll always yell out, no, I can't shoot during this time because the light is so hard. I'm like, um, yeah, man, like that ain't me, man. That ain't me. If it's 12 o'clock, I'm gonna figure out a way to use it.
Yeah,
Granted, you can get rid of all that frustration with just utilizing strobes, but
sure.
also I like the fact that there's little subtle things that I can do to make that particular 12 o'clock light work for me or for who it is I'm photographing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, I'll be lying if I had a philosophy about light. Um, And some people might take that as like, dang, Bryce, we thought you did. But I'm just being honest with you. I don't really have a philosophy. I know what I want. I'm gonna go get it. And you know, I would I would say I experiment a lot. You
Good.
know?
Yeah,
So.
I think I think as you should. I mean, I definitely, at least personally, I know my philosophy is basically it's light. All
Mm-hmm.
light is light. And if it works, it works. And if that's what it takes to get what I want, then that's what I'll do. If that's like a little tiny reflector or like a reflection of a car window or a
Mm-hmm.
flashlight or whatever, like
Yes.
I do not care.
Yes. Yes. I will use a flashlight in a heartbeat if I needed
Yep.
to. You know?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely getting a little bit of praise in here for your work. Becca said colorgasms.
Thank you, Becca.
Gary would like to know, what are you talking to your models about when you're shooting? Are you giving them like posing positions or more conversational, or trying to get them to evoke emotions?
Um, that's a good question. Like whenever I'm working with like models, like my main thing, and some people might not agree with this, but like my main thing is always making sure like the model is comfortable. And then as far as like posing or whatnot, I'll have an idea in my head and I will and they always laugh at me when I do this. I'll pose for them, right? And then
Yeah.
like I will pose and they always tell me like, dang, I really love how you pose. Even though when they do it, it looks so much better, you know. Um, but I typically just I, I try to find some type of um common ground with the model just to see if we have any like same interests or anything. And then I just talk. That's literally what I do. I just talk to whoever it is I'm photographing. And I find like whenever I talk and just whether it be about something they like, I like, it always opens up the floor to like to them being like a lot more comfortable. And
Mm-hmm.
with that comfort, there's always this sense of how do I put this, vulnerability, I want to say. And
Sure.
then from there, they're always they're always up to try whatever it is I ask them to do, or like they'll give me their input and try something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I hope it answers the question. I hope it does. Yeah.
I think it does. I think it does. So a lot of times, is there a difference then between how you work with a model and then how you work with a client who's maybe coming to you for portraits or body work or something like that?
Um, I think if I'm being honest, I try to approach everybody the same way. Like I try to, of course, I'm going to have there might be some differences when I'm working with a client versus a model, but I try to see them as you know just who they are. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I just again, just like with my client, I want to make sure my client is comfortable. Just like with the models, I want to make sure the model is comfortable, and I just try to have a conversation and just create what it is I see that I feel that will be the best representation of who that client or model is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
So when you're doing a portrait, is that something you're focusing on? Like, I know that people have kind of different philosophies on what they're doing when they take a portrait. Some people are really
mhm,
just aiming for what's happening in that moment, not necessarily trying to capture the person and like who they are, but
mhm.
just what's happening and how they feel. And then some people feel really strongly about wanting to try and get the essence of somebody. Um, do you have a
Like
preference for that?
for me, I definitely would say I do have a preference because no matter who it is I'm photographing, like my main thing is to create, um, get a feeling for who that person actually is. That is like one of my main goals when I'm photographing somebody, whether it be a client or model, or maybe somebody who's not a client or a model, you know. But for the most part, I would definitely say, yeah, like I just want to create a true representation of who it is I'm photographing. That's the main thing.
Sure. I like
But,
that. I think that's a good way to go.
yeah.
I don't do that at all. I just want somebody who can come and embody whatever's in my head. Like I want to make fake stuff.
And that's something else. You know, it's so funny that you say that. Like, even like I would say, when it comes to, you know, trying to create a portrait of who that person is, like some of my conceptual stuff, like
right.
I don't care who that person is. I want you to be molded. I want to mold you into like this deer man, right?
Yeah. Right.
But for the most part, with my portraits, I am trying my best to create an image of who that person is. With my personal fun stuff, I want that person to be molded to who it is I think I want them to turn into.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to clarify that.
No, it makes perfect sense, because there's you have to approach it based on purpose, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. And I think what I did is I just removed everything else but that. I was like, I don't like that anymore. Blah. So I still will sometimes do, you know, I'll still sometimes work with models and things for their book, but most of the time now, for me at least, it's just like, I want to make stuff and you are a tool. Come and let me mold you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but definitely when you're, everything has to be suited to the purpose of the image. So I'm with you on that one. So many people coming in. So Irina is here. Molly's here. Carla says, Bryce.
What up?
Sprinter Beats, Sarah is here.
Hello.
So a lot of awesome people. So Gary is asking another question. He would like to know, do you prefer to work with professional models or just people off the street?
All right. Okay. I get asked that a lot sometimes. If I'm being honest, Gary, I like work with both. Like, but man, this is a huge but. Oh, no pun intended.
Oh, come on, intend the pun.
You know, working with people who aren't models, and this is no disrespect to the models that I've worked with, and the models who I'm going to be working with, I find them to be a lot more interesting, if that makes sense. And again, I swear, models, if you're watching this, I am not trying to like throw any shade at you. I swear, because I love working with y'all. Y'all know I do. I just find like working with people who aren't models, there's something about working with people who aren't models that you can't get the same exact thing from a model when you're working. You can't get how do I put this? When I'm working with somebody who's not a model, like somebody who I found to be interesting, you can't get that same feeling from an actual model, because sometimes models just have this they're being shifted or shaped into somebody that I want. But when I'm photographing somebody who isn't a model, they are themselves, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to take away from the fact that sometimes when I do photograph models, I am photographing them for who they are. But sometimes it's just like you just can't. There's something about photographing someone who's not a model. It's just fascinating to me. I should say that. I should keep it at that. You know.
No, I understand. I think for models who are used to being in front of the camera, they know what they look like and they know how to move, and they're so practiced that when they come in, it's just like, yeah, I know how, boom, 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 boom. And then when you're working with a regular person, there's no professionalism. They don't come in with any kind of preconceived ideas of what they should do or how they should be, or they don't turn on for the camera, you know. Most of the time they turn off, and then you have to be like, no, come out, it's okay.
Yes. Yeah, that oh my God, that kills me sometimes. But hey, it is what it is, you know?
It's part of the journey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially if you like people, there is something kind of interesting about trying to work them out and find out what makes them comfortable and how they're willing to, what you need to do to help them be willing to be vulnerable. And
and I find like having a conversation with somebody before I photograph them is always, it's like that really, really allows them to let their guards down.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, photographing, talking to them while I'm photographing, that they'll let their guards down as well. But like having having a conversation before I pull out my camera, it's like, I don't know, there's something awesome about it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. We're getting in a couple more questions.
Uh-oh.
So, Eric Adelaide, please tell me if I mispronounced your last name. I think Adelaide is
Oh,
right.
Eric. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Did I say his last name right?
I
Do you
think
know?
it's Adelaide.
Adelaide. Adelaide.
Eric, forgive me. 'Cause I know him. I know him.
I hope. Okay. So Adelaide. I hope. I always feel bad when I can't get somebody's name. I'm like, no.
All right.
So he wants to know how personal projects have impacted your work as a photographer.
You said have they or how?
How have they?
Okay, so I think like with personal projects, personal projects kind of like open up my eyes to what it is I truly love. You know, um, and like I was saying earlier, like one of the personal projects that I did was something that I truly love, like the deer thing. And with that, I really started to realize how much I really like making weird stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? And
I
also
do. Give me all the weird stuff.
and like it opened up a door for me. Unfortunately, that door kind of got closed because of COVID, but it showed me how much like the stuff that I create personally can, my love for creating that stuff can really have an impact for like on what it is I create. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. Eric, I hope that answered your question. And that actually makes me want to know. So, when you're creating personal projects, do you have some like so, all right, let me break this question down.
Okay.
Because I thought of more as I was starting to ask the first one.
Okay.
So, first, how do you approach what kind of projects you do when they're personal? And then the second question will be, do you have an end goal in mind for them as far as what you want to do with them? Do you just need to make them so they live somewhere? Or do you have like, I know I want to hit up art directors with this, or I know I want to, yeah. Right, so that would be the questions.
Yeah. So like, okay. So for your first question, as far as like creating them, it always starts with like, well, I'd be lying if I said it started with a pencil and a paper. It starts with just like me either watching TV, reading a book, or playing a game. Okay. Or if I'm like out and about, I might see something. And I was like, you know what? It would be kind of crazy if I tried this out. I'm going to try it out. And then, lo and behold, oh my God, I get hooked to it. And like, it just snowballs into something else. Right. Like I got a personal project that I just did. I was out and about. I was in, where was I? I was in Walmart. Right. And there was people that were fighting over toilet paper. And I think y'all probably saw that piece that I did. And that kind of like snowballed into something else. I got other pieces that I'm working on for it. So, hopefully, did I answer your question? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, about just kind of, so you're kind of coming across the inspiration for these just in things in your life, just in different areas of your life.
Yeah, like, and then again, like I know I mentioned, I mentioned a second ago, like writing stuff down and like whatnot. But I do that, and if I have an idea, I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna sketch it out sometimes, or I'm just gonna hop on the computer and just see if I can whip something up, or I'll just hit up probably whoever it is I think who can like help me with that particular project, and I just try to get it out, and that's probably one thing that probably one of a really cool piece of advice I saw. It was like a couple years back, and I always had this problem. I would have an idea, or I'll come up with an idea, or something might inspire an idea, and I would never write it down, and I would never go and do it until I thought like the time was right for it. And then what winds up happening, I can't remember what it was, and I know it was a cool idea. You know what I mean? And so what I had to force myself to learn how to do was write those ideas down and just go out and execute it the best I can if it was possible for me to do it. If
Right.
I'm not able to, I'm going to write it down, I'm going to sketch it, and keep it in my vault until I know for a fact I'm able to like attack it the way I want to. You know.
Right.
But now, as far as your other question, as far as like my end goal, it really just depends. Like, so sometimes I want to create it just to show, just to show everybody what it is that's going on in my head.
Right.
And also, like, I do create it to put it, put it in front of possibly art directors or whatnot. You know what I mean? And speaking of that, again, that personal piece I keep telling you about, like, it got in front of an art director, and that's how things started to snowball into something nice. And COVID came in and so
But that door is open now. Like
yeah.
now they know you're there and they've seen your work, and that's like the first step, right?
Yeah, exactly. And thank God for Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so like it just, like that lesson that I learned about just putting it out there and also like attacking it when it comes to mind, it kind of like it really, that piece of advice really helped with my personal work.
Yeah. So when you get the idea, you sketch it out a little bit, maybe write it down. How do you decide which ideas to go forward with and which ones to ignore or which ones you can't do yet?
Okay. So sometimes my ideas, I know for a fact I'll need like a gigantic budget to create it. So I'll just set that to the side until I'm rolling in dough. You know what I mean? And then the other ideas, like when those are pushed to the side at the moment, I go to my other ideas, that ones that I feel like really, really speak to me as an artist. Like that is how I choose which one I want to go forth with. And then sometimes, I think everybody can relate to this. Sometimes I just try to attack everything all at once.
Yeah.
And that it's fun, but also at the same time, what it makes me realize is that sometimes I might bite off more than I can chew, and I need to like take a step back a little bit and just focus.
That sounds familiar, Bryce. That sounds
familiar.
You are speaking to my soul right now.
Hey, it happens. It happens, and like it hurts. It hurts because like I want to work on all of it because I can see the end game. I can see like the end result in my head.
Yeah.
And I just want to just attack all of them. But I find that once I start focusing in on one specific thing, like I find that sometimes the end result is a lot more sweeter. So.
Yeah. So you got your personal project, you've created the thing. How do you go about releasing it into the world? Do you have like a plan for who you want to see it? And how do you, if you do decide to put that stuff in front of art directors or, buyers or whatever, how do you go about doing that?
Okay. So, as far as like, as me releasing it, everything is dependent on, how do I put this? Everything is dependent on like how I feel. That's literally it. And then as far as what I've learned thus far is like when I put it out on social media, I get a good response. And then sometimes I find myself getting emails from certain people. And like and then also like what is the name of that website? Oh my God, I forgot. It's the one where you can like get in contact with oh my
like
God.
Agency Access or
yeah. Is that the name of it? Is that the one? Because I know it's one of them that I use. I should know this, but it has literally slipped my mind. Oh my God. And then like basically what I'll do, I'll send out a a little promo or whatnot. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's pretty much how I go about it. And you know, a lot of times I might not get a response back, but
yeah,
hey, but one thing I did learn though is like people are watching. People are watching everything, like, and it might sound kind of like what's the word? Is it eagle eye? Eagle eye? It's
like Big Brother up
yeah,
there.
Big Brother. Like when I say everybody's watching,
Yeah.
I don't want people to think I'm paranoid.
They're gonna put their tinfoil hats on real quick.
Yeah. But
Be safe.
people are watching. And again, I keep going back to that piece I was telling you about. Somebody was watching because they literally told me they were watching what I was doing, and they really liked that particular piece. And you know, and that kind of plays into a role where how I want to release my work. I'm like, I'm just going to release it to the world. I just want everybody to see it. But if it's something a lot more personable and or not personable, a lot more personal, and I want it to be like on a larger scale, I'm not going to like release it. Like right now, I'm working on something that's kind of on a larger scale, but I don't want not a soul to know about it.
Yeah.
And that really hurts me because I'm one of those people who wants to show what it is I create.
Same. Yes. Yeah. Give me the praise. I need it. Give me the approbation. I gotta have it. That's how I survive. Just somebody tell me I did a good job.
And I don't think of it like that. It's just like I just want people to know, like, hey, look, this is what's going on in my head. Can you please tell me I'm not crazy? But yeah, that's basically how I go about my personal stuff and whatnot.
So who are you usually looking at when you're ready to approach people with a piece? Like, are you after game companies? Are you looking at like production houses for like movies or films? Is there kind of an industry that you're going for when you
I have like my eyes on certain industries, I should say. You know what I mean? Like with the video game world, that is a really tough. That's really tough to get into because like video games, they're always using 3D stuff, and their artists there. God, I'm just like, wow, man, like this is insane. Y'all don't need me. You know what I mean? And like, and that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough for me to say. But with the work they create, all this stuff is typically always 3D, and it kind of, again, it just blows my mind. But as far as other folks you mentioned, yeah, I always have them in the back of my mind when I'm creating my personal pieces sometimes. And one of the best pieces, well, I get a lot of advice, but like a piece of advice I got when I was talking with a art director. Basically, they pretty much told me a piece of advice that I get sometimes. It's like, create what it is that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't show my new work to an art director over at Nike. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like if I'm creating a certain piece and in the back of my head, okay, I think this might can work for such and such. I'm not my idea isn't going to be how do I put this? My idea is not going to I'm trying to think of the perfect word to put this, but basically, I know who I want this to go to, and I'm going to be constantly thinking about it as I'm shooting my personal piece. But I'm not going to let that affect like my end result. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Hopefully, I'm not babbling, y'all. Hopefully, I'm not talking crazy.
No. I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. I feel like I definitely can identify with that as far as wanting to first make the piece that matters to you, even if you have an end goal in mind. But But I know for me, I need to do a much better job of having that end goal in mind, because it's so easy to just make a thing and then be like, yay, there it is. But it really has no home, and it has no specific audience, and it's not, and now I have this piece, but it's not actively doing anything for me. So I know for me, I need to do a better job going, okay, I know I want to create this piece, but I need to do it with something in mind so that it's actually benefiting me more than just the joy of having made it.
Yeah, exactly. I got you.
Yeah. So for me, I have to work on that. Because I'm that person you mentioned before, like when you get into those phases where you take on everything, that's just what I do. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to learn to draw stuff. And then I'm going to get into 3D. I'm going to animate things. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to write an article and start an interview show. Like I'm just going to do it all. And then I start going, oh God, no, I don't want to go hide from the whole world, because there's just no way to keep up with all that. Ugh. So yeah, I need more of your approach to be able to pull back from that stuff a little bit, because I will badly overwhelm myself.
It's definitely hard to pull back. I will say that. God, it is hard, because I like, but I want to do this. I want to stick to this too, but I got to do this. So it's
hard. It's hard. I definitely want to get to a few more questions. We've had so much great interaction in the comments so far.
Okay.
I am gonna pronounce your name wrong, so please forgive me, and then correct me and let me know how to really say it. Is it Ayana?
I think I know who you're talking about. I've known her for like, I think it's Iwana. I know she's going to like probably slap me virtually for messing her name.
I know.
I think she's over in Greece.
Please tell us.
I think she's over in Greece. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go with Iwana for now. And she's wanting to know if you travel to other places for your project, as in, other states or countries, etc.
Like, as far as other countries, no. Because like it's not in my budget for that. But like other states, for sure. And this reminds me of something that somebody told me a while back. It was back in 2013, I think. I wasn't traveling at all, right? I just wanted to stick where I was. Of course, that's extremely detrimental. But this guy, he told me, he was like, no. He's like, I can't remember. But anyways, they told me, dude, you know what? I think you know what you ought to try to do? You ought to try to travel. And once they told me that, I was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. Like, what can it hurt? And I did it. I traveled, and it really helped with like my personal stuff, because I was opening myself up to a lot of different things. And without that, I think I still probably would I don't think I would have evolved to like shooting like some of the odd stuff that I've shot,
Sure.
Without doing that traveling. So
yeah, that makes sense. It's crazy how travel can open up your mind and change the way you think and see things. If there's one thing I could wish more people would be able to do, it was travel, and travel far outside of their own space. Like, go to a place where people don't think like you do, don't look like you do, don't dress like you do, have different habits and things. Go do that and expose yourself to that. Those people in those different landscapes.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I remember like my first time I ever traveled, I'm from a small town in North Carolina, right? And the first time I ever traveled, like, a long ways from here, I went straight to LA. So the culture
shock.
Yeah. Oh my God. The culture shock was like, it was insane. It's like, it was way different than what I'm used to. And I'm really happy that was the case, because again, I go back to what I mentioned before. It opened my eyes up to a lot of different possibilities of everything, so.
Yep. Agree. So Ioana. Tell me if that's right. She spelled it out for me. Okay. So, and then also, Chronico. Question for Bryce. How different is the work you do for clients compared to what you post on Instagram?
Okay, so that's a pretty good one. I think it just depends on the actual client. Um, but I do have those clients who want a certain thing, but the clients that I do have other clients who want me to create for them some of the pieces, like something that's similar to some of the pieces that I've created that you see on Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I have ones who, for example, I have some who just want me to create like nude work for them, exactly how I shot my nude work. And then I have like some who just probably need like a simple portrait or whatnot. It's like it literally just depends on the client in general. Like, um, the clients hire me because they like my vision, but at the same time, sometimes they're like, well, I like your vision, but I still want you to do this for me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, it literally just depends on the client in general.
Sure. That makes sense. I think probably for most of us, that's probably the case.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we don't have any other people have been giving so many awesome questions. One more by Eric. He's wondering if you collaborate with other photographers for your projects ever.
I mean, like now that right there, it's I have collaborated with other photographers, and I don't mind doing it, but also like I find myself collaborating more with uh people who aren't who they're artists, but they're not doing photography. Like, for example, the 3D artists I told you about. Like, I find myself collaborating with them a little bit more than an actual photographer. You know, um, but that's dang. When was the last time I collaborated with a photographer? God, it's been a little while. I mean, I don't mind it. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind it. Working with other photographers. But I'll say this: when there is a collaboration with another photographer, and this might sound kind of dull, but typically it's when other photographers assist me.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but like when they assist me, and that's one thing. You know?
Yeah. I don't know about you, me personally, and I always feel bad saying this,
I know what you're about to say.
but I'm super selfish and I don't want to share my stuff.
Dude,
when I want to make something, it's mine.
It's funny you say that because like I told you, I'm stubborn. I'm super stubborn. I don't like sharing so much, but also I don't really mind it. You know what I mean? It's just I think probably because like I just want to. I love when I see other people create stuff. That makes sense, but yeah, like I can have a selfish streak on me. I will say that. Yes, I will. I'm not. I swear, I'm not a jerk by any means, but I can be pretty selfish. Because hope I'm not a jerk. God.
No, it doesn't make you a jerk, and I hope at least it doesn't make me one either.
I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few times like I'm more than happy to assist other photographers. Like I will jump in and hold a reflector or move a light or like be the wind guy, anything like that I'm in for. And I love being able to see other photographers work and be able to, like assist in helping them figure out what they want to do. I love that. I think that's awesome. But the only few times I've ever actually shot with other photographers were either for things like shootouts, like one for Ellen Chrome that we did where we were all basically shooting the same model in the same space, but we got to style them according to our preferences and move our lights and all of that kind of stuff. So we still had, individual control. And then with Kate Woodman and Olga Tanyanyan, when they came to my house after WPPI, and we just grabbed a whole bunch of kind of local models and we're like, let's just like shoot all day long and we'll just do whatever we want.
See, that's dope. Dope.
And that's fun. It was cool.
Plus,
really
y'all
cool.
are all amazing. So of course that was dope. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had like two of the awesomest photographers like in my garage making work and get to move their lights and stuff and be like nice. And watching them as like I'm taking all these tips for myself. that part definitely, I love that, and that's super cool. But I think when it comes to like my ideas or things I want to make, the chances of me collaborating with somebody else are really slim because it's mine. It was my idea. I needed it. You're just along for the ride. Which, yeah. I mean, yeah, it might make me selfish. It might make me selfish.
Hey, it is what it is. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Ioana. Yeah.
So you were pronouncing it right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
She gave me the pronunciation, so it is Ioana, and she said it's usually tough for non-Greeks to pronounce it correctly. Which, excuse me. Go. They should know better by now. Have a mostly naked 7-year-old like I want to play this video game. Yeah, but anyway. All right, so we're a little bit over our time, so I just want to encourage everybody right now, if you guys have any more questions for Bryce. I know it goes fast, right?
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. This is way too fast. Oh
yeah,
man.
No, it's surprising. It's always like, how has it been an hour already? Yeah, so if you guys have more questions for Bryce, get them in right now so we can answer them before we go. Yeah.
Yes, make me answer your questions.
Right?
Yes.
Put on the pressure.
Yes.
So where do you, this is like the terrible question to ask, but where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Like, do you have a place that you're trying to go?
Jesus. Oh yeah, that is the one I did not want to be asked. I'm just joking.
I know.
Joking.
I don't want to answer it for myself either. So I'm putting it all off on you.
Yeah. All the pressure. But in all honesty, like you said 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah, just short-term future.
Okay, so hopefully in 5 to 10 years, I will be out west creating key art.
Nice.
Like if I'm being completely honest, I want to be out west creating. Well, I don't even have to be out west. I want to be the person that is creating a lot of like different key art, because that stuff just truly fascinates me. And I also, this might be 5 to 20 years, but I also want to have like gallery showings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that is, it's like, gallery showings, of course they can get expensive, but at the same time, like I want to be able to share what I have going on in my head, not just on Instagram or Facebook or whatnot, but I want people to be able to see like in person what it is I have going on in my head,
Yeah.
So that's where I see myself 5 to 10 years. So, or 5 to 20 years, I should say.
Yeah. Or is there something that for your gallery show, do you have any of your work in mind that you wanted to show? Like, is it your nudes or your portrait work, or, is there something specific that you're wanting to get out in a gallery?
All right. This might sound kind of like arrogant of me, but all of it. But personally, I would say a lot of my personal work. Like I want like my ideas that I'm working on now.
Mm-hmm.
I want those out and about. I mentioned a bigger project early on. Like that is one of the things I want out and about. And then, even though people have already seen it, but like my Herd series,
right,
like it's still going to be an ongoing series, but I still want that to be, up close in people's faces.
Sure.
I have a physique series that I really want to get more out in people's faces, but but for the most part though, those are the main pieces I really want to, those are the pieces that I want people to see if I were to have like those particular gallery showings,
Right.
So, yeah.
Right on. So, all right, here we go with the questions. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Who is your favorite character on Bob's Burgers?
Oh my God.
Renee Baker wants to know.
Man, okay, that's gonna be a tough one. But I think she probably knows. Uh, Probably Louise Belcher. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Louise.
Okay.
No, we know world. um, Ioana says, what's your favorite computer game?
My favorite computer game. Okay, so I don't play games on a computer per se, but I think I know what she's saying. She's like, if I were to say my favorite video game, um, dang, that's tough. It's between God, I don't. Okay, it's between Metal Gear Solid and The Last of Us.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So my son
Mhm.
is like desperately waiting for The Last of Us 2 to come out. He
Next
is
Friday.
Like, trying to earn
Mhm.
all the money. He needs it. At the end of that game, he broke down on the floor and cried on the floor. He is almost 17, by the way. He was so emotionally invested, and now he's like, Mom, you have to play it. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that level of commitment, though. Like, I know it's gonna hurt my feelings.
It's an incredible game. Like that game. Ooh, damn, that game is good. Yeah, it's awesome.
Even just watching some of his gameplay, I was like, God, it's really like playing a movie.
Yeah, it is, and it has inspired a few of my pieces too. So
now I feel like I have to go back through your pieces and be like, which ones?
Yeah. And it's not like right in your face, but some of the pieces have been like inspired by it, So.
Yeah. Irina would like to know, how do you find models for your nude personal work?
Okay, so as far as finding, like, early on, God, I'm so happy she asked me this question. Early on, I was using Model Mayhem, and that was like a while ago. But I found that, like, models on Model Mayhem, they're not all that reliable. And it was pretty tough to get agency models to be down with it. And once Instagram came up about and Facebook, once I started showing people, hey, this is the type of work that I create, and I would personally reach out to people who I found to be like interesting and who I felt like that would work for my personal portfolio. And I tell you, like, it's Facebook and Instagram that has like really, really helped with finding the right people for the stuff I wanted to create. I know it's not like it's not like working with an agency model, but it has it has really helped me. I'll say that much. Yeah.
Right on. That's nice, because that's a tip anybody can take and use, as long as they're producing the kind of work that they want to make, and people are able to see that and be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hannah Walker would like to know if you have a must-have item on shoots. What is your must-have item to have on shoots?
A must-have item. All right, it's gonna sound like, I'm gonna go ahead and state the obvious. My camera, of course. But I would probably. Wow. I don't think nobody's ever asked me this before. Oh, man.
Hannah's showing up with the serious questions.
Yeah, must-have item. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus. I don't know. Like, that's kind of a tough one. I think, like, I would say it is really dependent on the shoot in general. Because, like, if I'm shooting something on a large scale, a must-have item, it would definitely have to be a Digitech. But they're not an item, but like on a piece of paper they're an item. But but like,
I'm gonna tell Ken you called him an item.
Oh God. Oh man. Sorry, man. Sorry. But I don't know, like that's a really good question. And there's probably another photographer who's probably watching this and probably fuming, like, dude, how do you not know this answer? But I would A must-have item. You know what? If I'm being completely honest, I would probably have to say a must-have item if on a shoe. I would just probably say one light, just one light. But then again, I would say uh, one of my favorite items whenever I'm photographing people out in like if I'm doing some personal portraits, a piece of cardboard with tinfoil on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that tinfoil has gotten me some really, really good portraits. But
Yeah.
I would say definitely between just having one light and that tinfoil.
So some kind of maybe supplementary light source, something
Exactly.
to, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you there. I think a reflector is probably always with me somewhere, like just to make sure that it's there. It's like the just in case item if something goes wrong, sure. Like, you know, that you at least have that to use. But I always have chapstick.
Chapstick. Oh man, that's a good one too.
I mean, I think
I should have said a sandwich. As I should have said.
I mean, like my voodoo doll.
Oh, right. Oh, yes. There you go. That's
what I have always with me. My magic medallion, that goes with me everywhere.
Awesome.
If I really had one, it would, though. I mean, to be frank, if I had a magic medallion, I'd be like,
yeah, right.
Never leaves my sight. Oh, Jay says backup batteries.
Wow. Such a good answer. But that's God, that was a good one. Good Lord. Yeah. Or memory card. Another memory card. Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. And yep.
A backup camera too. Oh, see? Oh, the answers are
second bodies.
Yeah.
Now you're getting it.
For sure.
All right, guys. We have reached the end. Getting close to an hour and a half now, so we got to start shutting it down. But I know it goes fast. For everybody who showed up and asked questions, thank you guys so much for being here. I always appreciate having you guys. You make this entire experience of going through the interviews so much more fun, and you bring such a different level of interest and questions and everything to the whole equation. So thank you guys for being here. If you are finding this kind of content, these interviews, this entire process, if you're enjoying it, if you find it valuable or interesting, if you could like and subscribe, that would be really amazing. And then maybe share if you think you know anybody who might be interested in these interviews as well. Also, all of Bryce's links and information are going to be in the description of the video once it finishes processing. So make sure that you go follow him on Instagram and hit up his website and show him some love. Just give him all that love and dive into his world, because his work is obviously amazing. Bryce, thank you so much. I feel like we've been in the same social circles and circles and Facebook friends for a while now. And it's nice to get to chat, not in Messenger, but kind of face to virtual face.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like this has been awesome. Like, I truly appreciate you actually bringing me on board. Like, I truly appreciate that.
Oh man, it was my pleasure. I'm glad that I got to pick your brain a little bit and find out a little bit more about how you create your work and why you create your work, which is our closing question. So now that we've reached the end, before we say officially goodbye, the last question is, what is your why? Why make art?
Wow, this is literally the hardest question on earth.
It is.
You know what? Like, if I'm going to be like blunt and honest, the reason I create is because, you know, it's going to sound extremely cliche, and I'm sorry, y'all, if it sounds like it. I love the process of creation. Like, that's point blank period. I love the process of creation. I love the fact that I'm able to get what I have in my head out into the world and show it people. Like, I love that. You know what I mean? And, you know, I don't have any long drawn out reason or anything. It's just that's what it is. What it is. I love the process. I love it. Yeah, point blank period.
Agreed. There's something about getting into that flow state of creating a thing that there's just no other feeling like it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I feel.
So where can people find you? I know I'm going to give them your links later, but if they want to go hit up your Instagram right now, where you at?
Okay, so on my Instagram, you can find me at Bryce Chapman Photo, and that's BryceChapmanPhoto. My website is brycechapman.net. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me for the most part. I have Twitter, which is Bryce Chapman 13. I should definitely use that a little bit more often. But if you want to follow me there, that's where I'm at. Um, Facebook, just search Bryce Chapman, and yeah, I think you might be able to find out you might be able to find me because I think I might be like the only person
He's
with my arms
the
on.
Bryce Chapman. So
Something like that. Yeah.
obviously he's going to be the first one that pops up. You will know.
I think so.
All right, Bryce, we're about to end the live stream so we can go and say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you in person.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for asking me those hard questions. I appreciate that.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Make sure, just so we got a day off. I need the day off tomorrow, but on Friday, Bella Kotak is going to be here with me. If you love fantasy, fairy tale type photography, she is incredible. I can't wait to pick her brain for that. So please be here as well so we can ask her all the questions and find out about her process. In the meantime, until then, Bryce, thank you again so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Bye, everybody.